An average of the people that reach out to me from social media platforms, maybe from comments in our videos, and even around me, they always ask me, how risky is this business? I want to invest, I want to put in money into poultry, I want to start up a broiler farm, a layer farm, most of the times even different kinds of farms. How risky is this thing? I'm just afraid. I'm afraid that I might put in my money there and out of a sudden all my birds die. Yeah, it's possible. We have seen, we have heard, we've had experiences where our birds die. So today's video is here, and I want to share with you in today's video how you can be able to manage risk and minimize mortality on your farm. By mortality, we mean birds just dying, most especially birds from day 1 to the 3rd week. That's day-old chicks, DOCs. So I want to understand how possible it is for us to minimize mortality, for us to minimize your birds dying and dying. I've been part of that experience, and I can tell you it's very, very painful. It's very, very frustrating to put in investments and just watch them dying, just watch them dropping dead one after the other. So if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so that you get notified each time we drop a new video. Welcome back, and the first thing I want to say is that mortality is normal. It's normal for birds to die, of course, because if the conditions that you are keeping them, if it doesn't favor their habitation, it's normal for them to be stressed, it's normal for them to fall ill, it's normal for them to just die. So it's not in every case that is superstitious, because I know at times I've told you that thing like that thing is an attack. I've told you that thing, that there is somebody that is not happy with you and they have done some superstitious things. And mortality is normal, because if the housing conditions under which you place your birds, if they don't meet the requirements for day-old chicks, most especially, they will die. So accept it and know that mortality is normal. And if you are considering keeping birds and you want to minimize the risk of death, how you are able to maximize profit, even as somebody that is starting up, how you are able to maximize profits is that you must make sure you minimize losses. If birds die, even from the first day, you're already incurring losses. So the first thing I want to say is that make sure that your birds come from a source that is legible, from a trusted source, because you don't want to get birds and those birds maybe were not well incubated, the birds maybe had defects during incubation and they are just dying off. You must make sure, take what I'm saying very, very serious. You must make sure that the source of your birds is from a legible source. I've brought in birds 2 times, and I will share with you my experience, maybe from the first batch, the second batch. From our first batch of birds, the source was quite good. We had no challenges with the source of the birds. Their very first days in the farm, they were very, very okay, except for mistakes that we made that caused mortality. We made so many mistakes that introduced gumboro into our farm, and birds started dying and dying and dying. Sometime last year we had that. But for the source of the birds, they were okay, very, very, very okay. When we learned about all of those things and were able to put in a few measures, that wave of diseases passed. But now I'm talking about the source. The second batch of birds, I think if you look at the background, I think you'll notice that inside of this structure, there's another structure inside a very, very old structure. We are currently using that structure in there to brood our current batch of day-old chicks. If you happen to get birds maybe from a supplier, from a hatchery, and the very first days in the farm, you have every other factors put in place correctly well, and the birds are just dying. Those birds are just dying. They are just dying the first day. Then I think that there's a problem with the source. I've gotten birds, and before the birds got to the farm, a good number of those birds died. This is not just the normal dying that can be caused by maybe stress factors, but the birds are just dying. They were just looking weak. They're just dying and dying and dying. And when I called my vet, he came around, he looked at the brooding environment. The temperature was okay, the ventilation was okay, everything was just okay. So where the hell is this problem coming from day one? Obviously, it should be the source of those birds. So you want to get into poultry farming, besides all the other things I'll be sharing with you in the course of this video, you must make sure that you get your birds from a trusted source. So Number one, get birds from a good source. Get birds from a good source. It will save you the stress of managing diseases that didn't start from your farm. It will save you the stress of managing outbreaks that has nothing to do with your brooding environment. Some of these defects actually take place while incubation is taking place. So you must make sure that you pay attention to the source where your birds are coming from. So the next thing I want to say is that in order to minimize mortality, in order to minimize the risk of having too many birds die, once your birds arrive maybe from the hatchery, you must make sure that you give them stress relieving supplements. Yes, give them anti-stress, give them vitamins, give them fresh water, and make sure they have food as fast as possible. So you must make sure that the birds have anti-stress. Vitamins are just good. It relieves them of a lot of stress, from the hatchery. At times, the journey from the hatchery maybe to your farm is not always easy. There are people that get birds from the day they are hatched. Those birds have to stay at times 24 hours, some people 48 hours, and they still come and they delay the birds on the farm. It's not a very, very good practice. Before your birds arrive, even, you must make sure that you have those vitamins, have every anti-stress supplement that you need to get to just make the birds comfortable and for them to regain strength as fast as possible, so that you don't go about increasing the stress, and increasing stress just means increasing mortality, because as they keep getting stressed, mortality will increase. The next thing I want to say is that you must try as much as you can to minimize the breakout of diseases on your farm. Try as much as you can to make sure that sicknesses, your birds don't get sick. It's easy. Day-old chicks are very, very delicate. It's very, very easy for them to just get sick. The immune systems are still very, very weak, and they're still trying to build up that. And one of the things, even adding to this point I mentioned earlier, one of the things you should also get, besides stress relieving supplements, you should also get antibiotics, so that the first days in the farm, the antibiotics should focus on strengthening and building the immune system. Now, I was saying that you must make sure that you minimize the breakout of disease on your farm. Whether coccidiosis, whether gumboro, whether infectious bursar disease, whatever, whether cough or whatever, you must make sure you try as much as you can to minimize that. Introduction of disease in the farm simply means that you are calling death. You are saying that death, please come and take over my chickens. So you must make sure that you minimize the introduction of disease. How can you do this? Put strict biosecurity measures. Put strict biosecurity measures. Make sure people, wherever you're brooding your birds, people don't just enter there anyhow. People don't just have access to it anyhow. I always say that a disease will never appear on the farm. Diseases are brought into a farm by an agent. You get that right? Diseases are brought into a farm by an agent. So if you try as much as you can to minimize entry of people into your brooder, you are already trying as much as you can to minimize entry of diseases. Diseases are brought by agents, rats, human beings, people that visit to just check, people that even go as far as touching the birds. You must make sure you stop those things. Put in proper biosecurity measures. Don't just allow people to just walk in, most of the times walking in even without disinfecting, walking in with the dresses they have worn around and just moved around. So you must make sure that one is put in check. The next thing I want to say as concerning measures to prevent breakout of disease is that you must make sure you practice hygiene to the maximum. Make sure that your drinkers are always washed. Wash your drinkers. For day-old chicks, it is very, very easy for poor hygienic conditions to affect them. Make sure you always wash your drinkers. Even the pan feeders that you use, make sure they are always clean. Wash them from time to time, sun dry them, disinfect them, and make sure that they are always clean and fresh. And for those of us who use the manual drinkers, the drinkers that you have to go and put water there and you come and spin over and put for water to flow, for those of us that use those drinkers, you must make sure that as the days in brooding, as the days keep increasing, you must keep stepping up the drinker. Because if you allow that drinker very, very close to the floor, very close to the wood shavings, those birds will keep pecking and turning wood shavings and will enter there. And what is entering there is not just wood shavings. What's entering there is actually foul droppings. And you know what it means for foul droppings to enter water and those birds drink. So what you should do is that as the birds keep growing in age, keep stepping the drinkers up. Keep taking them up. You can use planks as I've done with mine. You can put a plank and you put a drinker on it. A week later, you can add another plank. A week later, just keep stepping it up so that it becomes difficult for wood shavings to just enter, for droppings to just enter and spill again over and into their water, most especially if you are using the manual system of drinking, for the drinker to be suspended up at least to a height that is comfortable for your birds to drink. If that's fine, then that's okay. It will help you in a long way to minimize diseases. If your birds get sick, number one, you will spend money, extra money, and number two, there is a possibility of them dying. Remember, we are trying to minimize and to reduce mortality. We're trying to reduce the risk factor that comes with fowls dying. The next thing I want to say is that even before the birds come, make sure you have your brooder ready. Get the heat source ready. Get everything ready, the feed and everything. Make sure you're actually ready. It was quite unfortunate for me that I was surprised with my new batch of birds. I was surprised. Like, I was just called that morning while I was at my place of work. I was just called that morning that, sir, your birds are ready. That morning, I was just called, and I've been preparing. I was prepared even like a month ago. I've been waiting for the birds. I got my birds and everything. Quite unfortunate for us, the location of our poultry for some time now has no power. There has been no electricity, and my primary source of heat, I always use these 1000 watt bulbs because they are good. They give me heat. It's easy to regulate. So I had to get extra heat source. I had to get a charcoal pot. I had to get charcoal. We even had to get a generator so that the birds have access to light. They have access to heat. So do what you have to do. Get the drinkers ready. Get the feeders ready. Get the heat source ready. Get even an extra heat source so that if electricity disappoints you the way it got me disappointed, you can be able to switch either to generator, you can be able to switch maybe to a solar lighting system, you can be able to switch even to a manual heating system like charcoal. The next thing I want to say is that make sure you are always available on your farm. Make sure you're always available so that you can closely monitor your birds, because diseases, your birds will not start dying the day the disease breaks out on the farm. But if you are very, very sensitive, you start observing certain things, you start discovering that the birds are not very, very active. So you must make sure that you closely monitor your birds so that you can give report maybe to a vet. If your birds start presenting signs of maybe sickness and you are not there to closely monitor them, if they start presenting to you signs of coccidiosis or signs of different kinds of sicknesses and you're not there to closely monitor them, then the disease might escalate to a level where you might not even be able to control. And once you monitor, always give feedback to a vet. One very, very important contact you should have as a farmer, your contact list, at least have the contact of one veterinary technician. At times, they will just help you. Have the contact of somebody that can just help you. Have the contact of somebody you can reach out to most times and say, please, this is happening. I'm observing this. What first aid measure can I do? So you must make sure that you closely monitor your bird and give report to maybe a vet or somebody that can help you when issues like that break out. The next thing I want to say is that you must make sure that your birds have the right feed, not just by size of the grain. Make sure that the feed nutritionally is balanced. There's what every bird, just like every human being, there's what every bird needs at every stage of their life. So it's not just about crushing the maize and the other ingredients to be very, very fine and to be very, very small. It's also about the nutritional content. Make sure that the feed is okay. If you can put all of these things together, I tell you, there is no reason, there is no need to be afraid. What makes people fear at times is because they are deficient of knowledge. If you can be able to get birds from a good source, if you can be able to minimize the breakout of disease from your farm, that you use the proper biosecurity measures, you restrict people from coming, if you can be able to maintain the best hygienic conditions, washing your things, disinfecting your brooder even before the birds come, if you can be able to monitor and control your birds properly well, if you can be able to have the right feed, then I think that you are good to go. The last and the most important thing I want to say is vaccines. Yeah, vaccines. I kept this for the last because many people at times think that birds can cope without vaccines. Vaccines are simply biological preparations that are there to protect birds and maybe other livestock from diseases caused by viruses and other biological agents. There are different kinds of vaccines. For example, in layer farming, we have the Newcastle disease vaccine, we have the IBD, we have the infectious bronchitis vaccine, we have infectious bursar disease vaccine, we have the avian influenza vaccine, we have Marek disease vaccines, and so many other vaccines. Find the vaccination schedule of those birds, get those vaccines, learn how to administer them. The next video, I'll be teaching you how to administer vaccines to your birds. Learn how to administer them and administer the vaccines in time, because it's also important. Every vaccine has a schedule. It's also important you understand if you're administering those vaccines week 1, if you're administering those vaccines week 1, make sure those vaccines are administered week 1. If you're administering them during the second week, make sure the vaccines are administered within time and just the way they should be administered. Also make sure that the vaccines are prepared and are kept under the right conditions. So that is it for this video. If you have followed right up to this end. Thank you for being with us. God bless you. And if you have never subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time we drop a new video. So the amount of information you are able to feed and guide yourself with helps you to minimize the losses. Just as you keep learning, the risk gap is being reduced. Keep learning and keep challenging yourself. Don't end at learning. Make sure you take action, and God bless you. See you on our next upload. Bye bye.